Chronic illness is a sign or a consequence of the systems we live in. Part of the focus I'd like to keep here is that we're in systems. So we have our personal experience within the system, but then we're dealing with a system. Systems can be changed. Systems are formed and systems can be changed. The context and what makes up a system are the social structures, the belief systems, assumptions, values, and these vary from country to country and then within the micro cultures within a country or within a community. So some people have a lot of financial security. Other people have very little financial security. Most of us are somewhat worried about that. We also have this culture that's not suitable for us. It's dangerous to our existence. Gabor Maté has been talking about that. That's, really a big theme in his book, The Myth of Normal, is that the culture that we've ended up with, in many countries at least, is not conducive to life. So when we are in a system that's not conducive to life, there's a lot of pressure and stressors. So we take that personally, we experience it personally, and we need to broaden that context to move from our own individual experience of our health and our financial circumstances to the global. And the nature of our social and economic culture, especially in countries where, and we're seeing this globally as well, especially in countries that are capitalist and highly skewed towards favoring the 1%, the rich people, that has a lot of impact on us. So young people in particular are looking at, a system that's not set up to be fair. It's not set up to have easy access to changing. And there's a lot of feeling of despair and betrayal of, what were my generation and the ones immediately before and after me, what were they doing? Just kind of walking around pretending that everything was going to be okay. And we also are looking at things like the tax cuts for the rich in the 80s by Ronald Reagan and the impact of that. For me, living in Alberta, Canada in the 80s, there was a premier of the province, the leader of the province that came in and put in a bunch of union busting laws. And then as we see that happen over the next several decades, we can really see the impact of some of these changes that are not for our benefit. One of the things that we can always tap into, and that I think also helps us to not feel so much despair, is that the dominant system is not the only system. So what we're looking at in terms of healthcare in particular, 59% of doctors wouldn't recommend a career in medicine to their children. That's a shocking statistic. And I know from personal experience, knowing some doctors, they're not recommending that to their children. They're saying, this is a profession now that it's still possible to make money, but it's a grueling experience. There's so much burnout right now, especially after COVID in the medical professions, whether you're a doctor, nurse, other kind of person in the healthcare system. So we've created these systems, and I don't mean we individually, that are highly susceptible to lobbying and corporate greed and influence. And now we're the ones that bear the price of that. And there are a lot of other ways of being that are still going on in our own communities and sometimes in our own families. We look at Indigenous healing, for instance, it's still here. The dominant systems haven't ruined it completely. This picture here of a crowded city, it's really hard to feel relaxed when we're in the midst of that many people. And yet there's also open spaces and nature, whether it's a tree in your yard or a park, or maybe you can get into nature. Those all have such a big impact on us. And I love this quote, "Dear 1%, we fell asleep for a while, just woke up. Sincerely, the 99%. This is a placard from Occupy Wall Street, which was around kind of a response in some ways to the economic crash caused by unmitigated corporate greed and the people on Wall Street that created that big crash, which affected so many people, were homeless and lost a lot of money, and those people never went to jail because the system is skewed in their favor. Right now, we're looking at one of the ways that we can have an impact on the system is by voting. And we've seen also in the last elections in the United States of people who are organizing together to really talk about and think about what kind of a system do I want to live in? How can we take power back from the people that have taken it from us? But the social fabric has been badly damaged or destroyed. And what happens, this isn't necessarily worldwide. A lot of Scandinavian countries, that's not the case. And we can see through the sociology and the research that's done comparing what it's like to be in some countries rather than others, they can see that this social fabric is still vibrant. And on a countrywide basis, I would say the United States has a social fabric that has been badly damaged or destroyed on an overall basis. And within that experience of living in the United States, people have different experiences with that. People are in different places in that. But what it does for all of us is it makes us more heavily reliant on money. So instead of relying on community for our safety and care and security, we rely on money because a lot of the social fabric has been damaged. We need secure housing. This picture is of a community garden in Detroit, an agri-hood. They're looking at the kinds of food insecurity that happen and also the food deserts, the inability to buy fresh food in a lot of places. And then how can we gather together as a community and really work to change that? So let's pause here for a moment. What do you need to feel safe and secure? And how much does money have to do with that? Notice your body, your breath. On the last slides, you might have been feeling anger, despair, all kinds of things might be coming up. See if you can stay stable in this moment. You could do some tapping or some box breathing, any of those things that will help you to just be here, noticing the safety that's right here, right now. And we live in these big systems. I love that picture of the neighborhood because it's really what we need. We need to live in connection with other people in a way that's safe for us. What do you need? What helps you to feel safe and secure? And as you're kind of sifting through some of these things, you might want to focus on one part of it. What's your history been around housing security, for instance? Have you ever lived in a neighborhood where you did not feel physically safe, where there was a lot of noise or violence? And certainly, we've all been in neighborhoods like that. Sometimes that's our home, sometimes that's somewhere we're passing through. We're not really looking at good, bad here. We're just looking at what is the system? What is your part, or where are you located in it? And do you feel safe and secure with that? And if things that are coming up feel less than safe and supported, like how much money do I actually need? What happens if I run out of money? And if you're in a country that has a better social net like Canada compared to the United States, that's a different experience rather than if you're uninsured medically, you know that there's not going to be much there for you. Or how much extra money do you need so that you could maybe, if you need to go into some kind of supported living, that you could live in a place that's quiet and safe and somewhere where you want to be. But what if you run out of money? How much of what's this safety and security relates to how much money I have? And if you had enough money that you could feel safe and secure, you could hire help if you needed it. You could live in a place that's nourishing to you. Does a dollar figure come to mind? Is there an amount that would actually really make a big difference? Of course, that's individual for all of us, but what comes to mind? How much money do you need? And how secure do you feel in that? Notice what happens in your body if you feel like, I don't know if I have enough money, or I'm sure I don't. I'm going to have to rely on other things, other people, other community supports. And then let's bring the inquiry into what else other than money could we bring in or expand or make more room for that would help us to feel safe and secure, that are not necessarily just how much money we might have in the bank or that kind of financial security. What else would give you some feeling that you're going to be okay? Neighbors, friends, our social networks, that's certainly part of it. And notice what it feels like in your body to focus on that. And it might be, well, if I had a better social network, I would feel more secure. Might not be that you're relaxing into this. It might be more that you're noticing what you need that you don't have. But also notice what we do have. We have our bodies, whatever it is, the circumstances that they're in. We've brought ourselves to this inquiry. Many of us do relaxation, meditation. We work with our mind. So if we have an experience, maybe come up around this inquiry or longer term, these can be very persistent worries that I'm not going to have enough money. I'm worried. I'm scared. Then we have tools that we can use and come into practice with. We can notice the room that we're in. We can tap on our forehead. We can do breathing practices. We can remind ourselves. That's a whole of catastrophic thinking. I'm not going to go down that. As soon as we notice, we can come back. So, just for another couple of minutes, to continue to notice your body and what's coming through your mind. What do you need? This is very personal and it's collective. If the resources in the world were distributed more fairly, I wouldn't need a second job. I wouldn't need to worry because I would know that I'm secure. What can we change? And that's what the French Revolution was all about. Let them eat cake. Yeah, that's not going to work for us anymore. And then let's come out of the inquiry, pulling it back into noticing the overall, what came up for you during the inquiry, what thoughts, feelings, what's going on in your body, what came up around what you need individually to feel safe and secure. And also, what about the system? What can we change about the system? Ronald Reagan did a lot of tax cuts. Trump did more for rich people. And those tax cuts could be reversed. So depending on who's holding the power in our community or our country, there's a lot that can change. Where are we on this individually and as a whole? These are good things to sit with. There's a lot here. What is the system? What do I need? And what can we change?